Today I'll be looking at Harrison Perkins' new book from Lexham Press, Reformed Covenant Theology. Here at the Raven's writing desk, I'm committed to helping you read for wisdom's sake, not simply for enjoyment or to accrue knowledge. So before I talk about the book, let me tell you about a prince and a castle.
This is the day, the first time the prince gets to walk outside the castle walls and meet his people. He's felt secure and safe and protected his whole life by the castle walls that surrounded him. And so when he leaves the castle for the first time, he's surprised that the first thing he sees is not the people or the music or the celebrations, but another wall surrounding the city. He soon finds out that beyond that wall there's a moat, and beyond that there are fields, and surrounding the fields are yet more walls. Dinner time rolls around and he goes to his father somewhat distressed and says, "Why did you never tell me about any of this?" And his father responds, "Up until this point you didn't need to know about any of it. All you needed to know was that you were safe. It's the same thing that I need the children within the city walls to know. And there are people in the fields beyond who are completely caught up with sowing and harvesting. And that's good. My hope is that these people, my people, will never need to know about the threats beyond. And I have established surveyors and soldiers to know and to defend those walls, to make sure that my people are protected." So let's turn from castles to covenants. That first castle wall is the gospel. All each of us need know is that God made a covenant or promise to save us when we walked astray, which is a good thing because Adam, our first father, sinned and caused us to have separation with God and also led us into sin too. As a result of God's faithfulness, Jesus came, lived a perfect life, died as a perfect sacrifice, and now invites us to join in his resurrection, to live life in all its fullness, both now and in eternity to come. That goes for both believers today, but also the elect throughout time. That means that although the work of redemption happened 2,000 years ago, the virtue, efficacy, and benefits of that work have permeated the elect throughout time, throughout history, from the beginning of the world until the end of time. Now, what this means for you is that, like the prince, you have an inheritance that has been bestowed upon you, not because of your own merit, but because of who your father is. Being able to understand the theology behind everything I just talked about will not add to or remove from that inheritance. However, the church and her people are constantly assailed from both inside and out. And so God has risen up surveyors who have gone out and tested our walls, our moat, our fields, and the world beyond against the word of God. Academic books like this one are meant to serve as guides to help us to do likewise. But as we opened up with, we need to learn to do that wisely. The first thing to note is that we're talking about walls, not siege towers. This book and others like it are not intended to help you go to battle, but to help prevent battles. Within the church, there is space for difference and opinion. For instance, I am a Credo Baptist and Perkins, the writer of this book, is a Pedo Baptist. What this means is that whilst we both believe that at baptism, the benefits of this covenant are signified, sealed, and applied to believers at their birth, we disagree about which birth we're talking about. Perkins believes that baptism follows our physical birth to welcome us into the covenant family of the church, and I believe that baptism follows our second spiritual birth. Before I finish, I just want to say one last thing. I just got back from the gym. I know that's the kind of thing you say in a video but don't mean, but in this case it's true. And in many ways, academic theological books like this one are a bit like the gym. When I went, there were machines and free weights and all sorts of things there that are there for people of all athletic ability, not particularly for me. Actually, I have a problem with my back, and so I have to modify the way that I use some of those machines in order to get the most out of them. If I went straight to the heaviest weight, I wouldn't get very far with it, but I also probably wouldn't finish my workout. Academic theological books like this one are stuffed full of arguments and defenses against things that you will probably never come across. 90% of readers aren't asking the questions that Perkins is asking in some cases. And so my suggestion to you would be that if you come across something that feels too heavy for you, or something that is not a question that you would ask, read the first and last line of that paragraph and move on. Because the reality is the best thing for you is going to be to finish this book. You can always revisit those things later, but it's probably not worth struggling over something that you are not going to benefit from in the short run, so that you can finish it and benefit from the whole book in the long run. I'm sure Perkins would agree that actually, though everything in this book is beneficial for someone, not everything in this book is beneficial for everyone. On top of that, on some of the sides of the machines, it gives a little display to say, here are the muscles that you're working out when you're doing these things. A lot of academic books don't do that. Thankfully, this book does. At the end of every chapter, it gives a conclusion that talks about the ways that this theology applies to our lives, and particularly to pastoral settings. My one caveat would be that it would have been better if it had also been in the introduction. And so my suggestion to you is that when you're reading this book, start with the conclusion. Go through the conclusion, write down some questions that you have off the back of it, and hope that you will have those questions answered as you're reading that chapter. I think that you will, because I think Perkins has done a really good job here. And when you do that, you will actually get more out of the book because you'll end up remembering more. So my suggestion is treat this like a theological workout. Don't expect to get through everything the first time. Expect to build up that tolerance, build up that strength. And when you then read future books, or even read this book again in the future, you'll be able to lift more as a result. That's all I have for you today. There will be more in my written review, so if you want to read that, head down in the link below and you can sign up for my newsletter so that you can hear more about that. My newsletter is called The Raven's Writing Desk, and it exists for the glory of God and the good of his people, to help people read for wisdom's sake, not just for knowledge or enjoyment. Have a wonderful day. Grace and peace.